has grown in magnitude to now find its worth to be in the great company of Sarang and Shastra. These are festivals that have, as you all know, have been in vogue for 40 years, and they've grown thanks to thousands of students devoting countless hours to make them worth the attendees' time. They make a stellar event out of almost nothing. Just so you all know, IIT doesn't give much in terms of money to these students, but they bring all of it themselves and do it. So in every one of those respects, Sarang is worthy of that company. That I think means a lot. Alumni coming together to create an event that is both impactful and expansive in scope. As you will see, the theme for this year's Sarang, which was sort of this year's Sangam, which was reinvented thanks to an enduring COVID bout. The first COVID was different, but the enduring COVID bout let Ma think through a different format for Sangam, and really they gave us an enduring Sangam, one that lasted over several months, one that touched upon many different themes. And if one were to look for a textbook definition of making an opportunity out of a problem, this is what it was. This is how one would work through that. You know, with a theme like restoring balance in STEM, they've made a fantastic effort and created content that will endure the test of time. You can go on YouTube, and all of the talks that Shyamala alluded to are all on there for people to learn for years to come. I think the content will survive on its own merit even after Sangam is done. Coming to say a few words about the theme itself, restoring balance in STEM. There is no better place to talk about it than at IIT. One of the most imbalanced places in India. And Preeti is leading several of our efforts in, through the Women Leading IITM program. But IIT Madras specifically also has much ground to make in relation to even the other IITs. Having said that, there are many aspects where I'll still say IIT Madras is all right, and IITs are also all right. One of those is in our PhD student training programs. So in the PhD programs, we are upwards of 25%, at least close to 30% women students, which is as good as any university in the world. In fact, this would be a global benchmark for your MITs and Stanfords. This would not, an MIT or a Stanford would not be as good as this in their PhD programs. They have different ways of engineering their admissions into undergrad programs. We don't have that degree of freedom available to us. So as a result, we are at about 18% women students in the undergraduate programs, and I'm sure that will get corrected over time by itself. Just the nature of India going from a $2 trillion economy to a $5 trillion economy, will naturally take us in the direction of more women coming into the training programs and workforce. The one area where there is a drastic intervention required, where the correction cannot happen without an intervention, is on the faculty recruitment, is on the faculty side. We are less than 10% women faculty, and that is where we really need to restore balance in STEM. So while we restore balance in STEM in that space, we have to also we have to be more proactive, and I think reaching out to women PhD graduates to request them, to work with them, to figure out what their problems are, but make sure they come into faculty. I don't care which IIT they go to. Good people should go into one of the IITs. Okay, and the people that want to come to IIT Madras will naturally come here. And in order to create this pool of applicants who will target, at least who will aspire to get into an IIT as a faculty member, women applicants, IIT Madras, we are considering several programs with the support of alumni to basically create this pool of graduates who are ready to become IIT faculty members somewhere in the country. And this is a very important intervention because this basically determines everything else downstream. If you ask the question, 60 years of at least 5 IITs and no women director ever, answer is this. If you say 60 years of IIT faculty and no, we've had, I'm sure there have been Bhatnagar awardees, but not in the same proportion. The answer is again in this head count being not as high as it should be. I think there is room for us to work and make a difference, but on many different metrics, I will say India as a university system is not bad in the gender equality space. I think we can hold our head high while pointing out to aspects that we do want to work on. I think our graduate student enrollment being nearly 30% is something that other countries should learn how we do that. We have in our graduate program, we have very few tier 1 city students. Most of them come from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and that's another. If I go to when I was a graduate student at Purdue, I can't think of many people who came from the rural hinterlands of the Midwest. They were all from a reasonably big city at the end of the day. I think there are many things that the world can learn from us, and as alumni, as torchbearers of this Indian education system, I think it is one of our bounden duties to point this out to the world at large. Stand up, tell the world, here my alma mater has, if you have another alma mater, tell them, my other alma mater has 25% women PhD students. Where are you people? Tell them, let them learn from us. I think we have to take that message to them and tell them that this is where India is today. Otherwise, we will all be trapped into our own stereotypical India, and with no one else to blame but us. I want to close with one little nugget of information that I think on the broader idea of restoring balance in STEM. I was listening to a talk yesterday as a matter of fact, where somebody pointed me to a stat that the percentage of women in the workforce has been declining in India for the last 5 or 6 years. And this gentleman did not, he was a fairly knowledgeable and erudite person, but he did not know attributable causes to it. And I'm not in a position to speculate either. But the fact remains that Indian employment industry, our corporate sector, our public sector, our government needs to become more inclusive of women in the workforce. I can see barriers in the whole process of either getting hired into the workforce or post-hire doing your best in the workforce that does not allow for women to grow in a direction that they can. And I think it again, wherever we are, most of our alumni are in positions of responsibility. They have some power in their hands. I think we all need to employ that power to ensure that balance is restored in the workforce. Because when the balance is restored in the workforce, then our PhD students would be more enthused to go into the workforce and therefore to come into the PhD programs. So it's like you create a suction force to draw this whole population of students to come through the IIT education system, go on and do something good with their time. So these are the 3 points I feel we need to work on, and some that we are proud of, that we just need to stand up and talk, and others that we should stand up and start to work on. I think Ma has done a fantastic job of bringing all the issues under this broad umbrella of restoring balance in STEM to the light. I am hoping, as Krishnan always does, there would be a white paper of some magnitude that would delineate all the issues with possible solutions presented to the appropriate policy holders. He is very good at creating this content, and it's something that I've learned to admire in him. So I certainly think we should not end Sangam on the note of talking about it and putting YouTube content. Let's finish it up with presenting solutions to people that should be solving these problems, including ourselves. Okay. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I look forward to the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Professor Mahesh, for a few points. First, for the positioning that you have given Sangam, and also a lot of takeaways and insights from your speech. Very encouraging and touching. Thank you. Today, on the lines of our theme, Restoring Balance in STEM, we have a small surprise to unveil. And for this, I would invite Professor Preeti Agalyam, Professor in the Chemical Engineering Department of IIT Madras, to please come over and stage and do the honors today.
I don't know if Nishani meant the surprise to be me, or it sort of feels like that, but before, we're going to play something, right? Yes. But before we play that something, I want to ask the audience to think of a space where you don't expect a woman in STEM to be, right? You understand what I'm asking for? Okay, so if you can come up with just shout it from there. Some space where you don't expect a woman in STEM to hang out or whatever. Shout something out, let me see. I think some girls in the back have an answer for me. Shout it out, it's okay, no wrong answer. Oil rigs, okay, some big sort of industrial installation like that, fantastic. Anything else? Stunt director for a movie. Oh, great, fantastic. Okay. I don't know. I took it as stunt director for a movie. That's what I heard. Okay. So, thank you. That's sort of the thing I was looking for. You're saying? Director of IIT. No, that sounds like a boring sort of job. I like the stunt director of a movie. I like being on the oil rig, maybe in the up on a mountain trekking.
About 5 years ago, the class topper of chemical engineering, a lady, went to Mali, an African country, recruited by Schlumberger to work on an oil rig. She had what you would in India call Z category security, with a bunch of AK-47 wielding gunmen securing her. She came back and narrated the incident. So oil rigs are scratched out.
Formula 1 basics.
Okay, doing some science in Antarctica. Okay, so racing or doing something around the car racing, whatever. So this was sort of the ideas that we were throwing about, saying that we want to show women in this kind of space because there's no reason we cannot be in that kind of space. More importantly, you can't assume that we don't want to be in this kind of space. Right, and even in this room, I'm sure we have examples of many of us women in STEM who have other interests, not just math equations and so on. We have musicians in our midst. We have people that are interested in sports in various ways and so on. So broadly, this was the kind of theme we wanted to bring about in this surprise that Nishani has me unveil. Please don't take the message away that the surprise is Preeti. That's not meant to be. So you can please.
Hi, this is Amrit Vats here. I am a 2008 dual degree from IIT Madras, and I have been an independent filmmaker. I have this brand of filmmaking called 3-minute stories, and as the name suggests, I especially do a lot of short documentary format work for startups, non-profit, IIT, schools, etc., etc. I also run a marketing advisory and growth advisory company at the same time. Filmmaking is something that gives me a lot of joy, and it has been a pleasure to work with a lot of different verticals in IIT, from IITM Foundation to Nirman to the IITM Alumni Association at this point of time. I personally care a lot about gender diversity and diversity in general, and because of my filmmaking I got a chance to sort of work with a lot of non-profits, understand different perspectives which probably I wasn't aware of when I was in IIT or was in my corporate job of business consulting. And so I absolutely see the value of initiatives that IITMAA is doing. And when I was approached to make a film around women in STEM and leadership, in my head it would have been ideal if a woman filmmaker would have led this, but given that I understood the IIT system, I come from that system and I knew how to do it, and you know, we had some time constraints, so instead of going and figuring out the ideal woman to lead this project, I got engaged to work on creating this short documentary film on women in STEM and leadership, what has changed for them and what has not. I have tried my best to just put together the voices that I heard, spot some patterns and put it together and keep my own voice totally away from it. So if you see the film, there is no voiceover, it's just something which is coming out from real women, from the lives that they have lived, what has changed and what has not. I probably was the filmmaker who traveled and met these women and asked them these questions, the questions to ask, and even just opening of my own brain about what are we really doing here. I was helped immensely by the entire core team of IITMAA, who has been doing an amazing job at putting together this year's Sangam. Hope you like the film and spread the message far and wide. Together, maybe in few years we would have a better tomorrow than the present when it comes to diversity in our society.
We are 50% of the population. Our needs are different. Like I can just talk about the chair where I'm sitting, right? Chairs are normally designed for a male. Most of them, if you look at it, they are male frame. Even tables, the height of the tables. Most of the women suffer because of this, right? So this is a very simple example. There are a lot of societal issues, there are engineering problems which needs inputs from women.
You will be surprised that while many more are open with a woman actually taking a role, playing football or driving a bike or etc., let us say that 70% are okay with that. But you would find that only 60% or 50% are okay with saying that a man can feed a child or wash utensils. You get my point. So while you may say that the girl has to go out and work and you're okay with the girl going out and working, you're not in any way reducing her load. You will find that more and more women don't want to get married.
So there is a full-length video at the link that we will provide to you. Please have a look. It's a whole bunch of voices of women talking on the theme and their own personal experiences, beautifully put together by Amrit Vatsa. We hope that you'll get a lot from it. Your feedback about the video is also very welcome. It's been a very nice effort, I would say, from Nishani, Shyamala and Krishnan and others to put it together. But I'm sure that there is room for the next, what do they call it, the sequel. The sequel will be better, and maybe Amrit will by then have recruited a woman to lead the filmography part of it as well. And also stunts. We'll do some stunts and we will definitely get a stunt director who's a woman. Thank you all very much, and thank you Nishani for having me here.
Thank you so much. Well, now the most awaited part of the event today is the prize distribution for the Sangam quiz and crossword competition, which was held from January to February 2022. I would like to invite Professor Shanti Bhattacharya, who is currently a professor at the Department of Electrical Engineering. She has been the key alum of IIT Madras behind the creation and the success of the quiz and the crossword we conducted. And over to you, Professor Shanti.
So thanks, Nishani. We've had Shyamala talk about the series of events, and I hope some of you could catch some of those events, if not all of them. So you know that we've been having a set of discussions, conversations about a whole lot of important topics. And as any professor, any teacher will tell you, any parent will tell you, one of the best ways of conveying an idea is you need to have these serious discussions, of course, you need to go through the theory, but a very good way of conveying ideas is to also throw in a whole lot of fun. And so I was the fun element. I got to, bring in that aspect where you could just laugh a little bit about something and hope that in that act of laughing, there's also some learning that's happening unconsciously, subconsciously, but nevertheless happening. So we were able to get some really good people to organize a crossword, and I think there'll be a message from Viresh, who helped us with the crossword. There'll be a message from Bertie, who helped organize 2 quizzes for us, one for school kids and one for IIT students and staff and residents. And I would really like to say a big thank you to both of them, because we thought of it and I wrote to them, and within half an hour they had replied saying, yes, this topic is close to our hearts, and no questions asked, and they were ready to do it. So I know that the kids who've come for their prizes must be waiting. I don't want to take too much of your time, but once again a big thank you to Viresh and Bertie, and of course to all the IITMAA team who helped with the organization. Nishani.
Thank you. Before I call on the winners, we have a small message from Quizmaster Bertie as well as the crossword designer Viresh Ratnagar. Let's hear it from them.
Hi, this is Bertie Ashley, and I was your host for the quizzes for the IITM Sangam quizzes. It was an absolute pleasure and an honor. I'm in my favorite library, just browsing the books, and it's one of the places where I discovered lots of the information that I gave to you. I just want to say it was a really well conceived and well thought out quiz, and I love the hospitality that they gave. Virtual, but it's still good. Amazing work by the team to get it done perfectly, and amazing work by everyone on board. So congratulations to all of you for doing a brilliant work. I'm looking forward to doing more quizzes, hopefully a physical one soon, and hopefully to look forward to meeting all of you. But till then, this is me saying thank you and all the best for the rest of your season. Bye.
Hi, this is Viresh Ratnakar, aka Gussa Loves. I would like to thank IITMAA for giving me the opportunity to set this thematic crossword for Sangam. I hope lots of solvers had fun with it. Congratulations to all the winners. The theme, a few words about that: restoring balance in STEM. I think it's an urgently important one. A STEM education, for among other things, opens many doors, including doors to leadership. And heaven knows that in the modern world, we need more women leaders, more people who have suffered in leadership position. I would finally say that the onus for restoring this balance is not really on the targets of systemic oppression. It's not on the oppressed caste people, not on women. The onus is on the rest of us, on males, for example. Let's try to speak up and to restore this balance, this much needed balance. Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Bertie Ashley, and I was your host for the quizzes.
Thank you, Bertie. Thank you, Viresh. Very kind of you. I now request Mrs. Alamelu to please come on stage to give away the first category of prizes for the 7th and 8th standard school students. The third place goes to Vishal Ramesh from NPS Gopalapuram, Chennai. Vishal, are you here? No? He's not come? Okay. Okay, he's on his way. Okay, no problem. I'm sorry, 1 minute. Sorry, I think they have not yet reached our venue. Can we have Shweta V from 11th and 12th standard, who's got the second place from Vanavani Matriculation Higher Secondary School? Please come on stage, Shweta. Who went? Can we now have Pranav, who won the 3rd place? Congratulations, Shweta. Call on Pranav AB, who's won the 3rd place in the 9th and 10th standard category, Wales International School, Chennai. Congratulations, Pranav. I now ask Malati to please come on stage to collect the prize in place of Uma Anand, who's won the prize of 11th and 12th standard 3rd place. Uma Anand, 3rd place. On behalf of Uma Anand. Thank you, Malati. We also had the alumni quiz competition, and for that the 3rd place went to Devjyoti Biswas. I request in behalf of him Aishwarya to come and take the, I request Professor Mahesh to please give out the prize. Thank you. Yes, I'm just. Prize winner? Can I have your name? I call on Nitin, who's won the 2nd place in the 9th and 10th standard competition, AMM Matriculation Higher Secondary School, Koturpuram. Congratulations, Nitin. I now call on Rukmini and Aparna, who've got the 4th place in the alumni quiz competition, and welcome you on stage, Rukmini. Alumni. She's an alumni quiz competition. It was a team. Congratulations, Rukmini. Congratulations, Aparna. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Professor Mahesh. Thank you so much to all the winners, all the participants who participated to make the quiz and the crossword such a grand success. We really hope that you enjoyed the quiz and crossword as much as we enjoyed having it for you. I now invite Krishnan Narayanan to launch the new initiatives of IITMAA, which will support women and young leaders in the IITM ecosystem. Krishnan is the president of the Iit Madras Alumni Association. Welcome, Krishnan.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So, before I sort of unveil the programs here, I do want to reflect on, how we sort of thought about women in STEM at the IIT Madras Alumni Association. This is not the first year that we are thinking about it, and I do want to place on record the excellent work that the previous president of IITMAA, Shubha Kumar, had under her leadership. We had thought about this program, 2-3 years back. And in fact, Preeti, was a partner in crime then, and we kind of did we started off with a women's survey, right? A Voice of Women survey, where we had more than 2,500 women across the country respond to our survey, and we got some views in terms of what they thought were important aspects and so on. Then post that, we launched a partnership with an organization called the Society of Women Engineers, SWE, and we did a few about 4 or 5 different events that we did jointly with SWE. I think I don't know, Preeti perhaps was involved with this thing. I do remember one conversation where Preeti hosted, for example, the the young alumni students, women students, and it was a fantastic conversation, right? To hear from the from the women, and the kind of confidence and poise with which they articulated the ideas was very inspiring. And we did all that, and so this has been a journey in the works, and this year we thanks to the extraordinary leadership that Shyamala brought to the Sangam event. I think we had a fantastic set of several events that we did over the last 2-3 months. So that's the sort of the journey. Now there's another sort of philosophy that we have, which is we don't want this to be just about events, right? And Prof Mahesh talked about it, that it's not about just we had fantastic events, so many people came, and now many more people will see on YouTube, but what does it mean on the ground? And so we have to move from this very just an event orientation to a program-centric view. And this is where I'm very excited to talk about 3 programs in particular that we'll be unveiling today. The first program. This is the first program? Okay, this is the first program. By the way, I just, this is the first program that we're going to do. We are having a partnership with this organization called IITM, and I actually invite Rani and Rajani from IITM to come on stage and just share a few ideas and a few thoughts on the kind of program that we're going to do. And by the way, I just realized that this the pen is pen, right, in Tamil. So sorry, I was sort of slow on the take, but I just realized that it's a great name. Please come on stage.
Thank you, Shyamala and the IIT Madras Alumni Association for this opportunity to work with a very elite group of women who've graduated from probably the institution that's the toughest to get into. So Rani and I are looking forward to working with the IIT Madras alumni. We as Independ, as you just pointed out, it is independent and pen. Since we are based in Chennai, we decided that that's more important for us to emphasize. So the pen is woman in Tamil for those of you who don't speak the language. So it's the independent woman. What we do is we bring professional women who've taken a career break. We help them to come back to work. So they take a break because they're trailing spouses, because motherhood, they struggle to find the right child care, and just as the children are growing old enough to be independent, the older people in the family require care. So many of these women, once they drop out of the workforce, they're never able to come back, even if they want to. We don't know, as I worked in TCS for over 25 years, and I can tell you that we don't know how to deal with breaks. We can hire anybody who is going to stop working for one company on a Friday and go to work in the next company on Monday, the following Monday, not 2 years later. We have we struggle to integrate people who've taken a break. We don't know how to place them, we don't know how to help them to upskill, we don't know how to be inclusive of them, invite them back, and make the workplace welcoming, as that's what we've struggled to do as corporates. So Independ is trying to do some of all of that. Help women rebuild their confidence, upskill themselves, get back to work, settle down at work and not leave again. And yeah, so what if there's a 10-year break? We can always work 10 years more than the men do. So we'll retire at 70 instead of at 60. And the other thing that we would like to do is encourage more girls to come into IIT, to start the JEE training in class 9, as many of the boys do. We feel that there is not enough inputs that they get early enough. Their cohort of girls, their friends, don't particularly know much about going in for JEE or for engineering. So we thought that that's something that we can do with the alumni to encourage them to think about engineering and STEM in general as a career choice, starting from class 8 itself. So those are the two programs that we are very keen on doing with the IIT Madras Alumni Association, and I hope that I will see every single one of you in one of those programs or the other. The mentoring of the young students does not have to be only through women. It can be any of us who's willing to talk to women about, young girls, about STEM as a career choice. So looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and you know, I best wishes to the to this collaboration. The second sort of project the program that I want to unveil is this Journey as a Women in STEM podcast series. I believe we have, is Rukmini Kumar here? Rukmini, yes, can you? No, but you can come on stage. Rukmini is the founder and head scientist of Vantage Research, right? And she is one of the women, the 6 women that we're going to feature. We have Almitra Patel. She was the first women engineer from India, from MIT. We've launched that. Then we have Mridula Nair. She's an alumnus. I think Rukmini, you're an alumnus too. And so Mridula, for example, she got 50 patents after the age of 50, right? She's in the Forbes list of 50 over 50. So I'm saying we're covering a range of this thing. We have some. She's a distinguished alumnus of IIT Madras as well. We have Janvi Palki. So for example, she runs a very, very interesting organization in Bangalore on sort of the science museum, and a very interesting profile. So I think there are things. So I want to thank all the women for sharing their life experiences. Thank you, Rukmini, for participating in this.
It was a lovely experience.
Maybe you can do, you can, why don't you share a few words, please?
Yeah, sure.
Please.
It was a lovely experience.
Please, here, come here. Yeah.
Hi, thank you. I didn't mean to jump in or anything, but it overall the effort seems to be lovely. It was absolutely great interacting with the core team, Nishani, and all your colleagues. And it was a lovely idea to have one of the current students to interview somebody who was, more experienced, and what would they be interested in, what would they ask for. So I had a lovely experience overall. Thank you, and I hope the entire series is useful. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was program 2. The third program, and Ravishankar, please come on stage. And we're going to hear more from Ravishankar in the panel soon. So I'm not going to ask him to speak now, so he'll speak about this in the panel. Yeah, but we are excited. I think we do want to explore a collaboration on a very, very interesting initiative that Chudar does. This is an initiative to support education for girls, especially in the government schools. STEM education for girls in government schools. So So we're going to be doing a program with him, and of course we look forward to learning a little bit more about that program during the panel discussion, right? So these three, of course, there are many more programs that we will do in the future. But first, let's get these three off the way, do a good job, and then we will get to the other programs. That's right. Okay, great. So those are the three programs. Nishani.
Thank you, Krishnan. All the winners, please stay back for the photo session, which will be after the panel discussion. And I also think that some of you have come in a little late. We'll do the prize distribution for that once the panel discussion is over. We have a small token of appreciation for all our chief guests today, and we hope you like it. Maha? Yes. And yes. Preeti? Thank you, Shyamala, for being here today. Thank you, Preeti. Thank you so much for all your help with Sangam and your involvement in it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Mahesh. Pleasure, absolute pleasure having you in 2 of our events. Looking forward to more. Thank you, Krishnan, for being here. Thank you. Thank you. I'm giving this to Shyamala. Thank you, Shyamala. Thank you for driving Sangam and to such heights. Thank you so much. Thank you, one and all. Thank you. I now invite Dr. Malathi Raghunathan, experienced researcher in chemistry with core competence in organic synthesis, catalysis, and asymmetric transformations, to come and launch our panel. Over to you, Malathi.
Thank you, Nishani. No chemistry here, okay? Human chemistry. That's what powers us. It's my absolute honor to be the introducer of the panel for the evening today. On the panel, we have Dr. Ravishankar, the founder and chief executive officer of Chudar, a non-profit initiative which strives to improve the quality of education for underprivileged children. His earlier work was with Aid India, where he directed large-scale programs to improve learning quality, reaching over 50,000 present and education at conferences in India and abroad. He's currently an advisory member of the Blending Learning Model program at the Himachal Pradesh government. He was a faculty at IIT Madras a few years ago and an adjunct faculty now. Previously, he's worked at IBM, where he was a co-inventor of several patents. He holds a PhD degree from Carnegie Mellon University and a BTech from IIT Madras, the 96 batch. Welcome, Dr. Ravishankar. Next up, Srimati Alamelu. I would call her Pals Alamelu. Welcome, madam. She is an alumna of the 1982 MS Industrial Engineering batch, an economics major by training. Alamelu heads ANSI Technologies, a company that specializes in training and consultancy in data management. She is an integral part to PALS, an educational outreach wing from the alumni fraternity to various IITs for the benefit of students of engineering colleges. She served as its chairperson until 2016, the same year that she was recognized as an outstanding alumna for her services to the IITM community. Currently, she is the secretary of IITM Alumni Charitable Trust. Welcome, madam. Next up, we have Professor Indumathi, who has demonstrated a history of working in multiple areas of environmental engineering, technology development in water, wastewater, waste treatment, resource recovery from industrial waste, sustainability, and environmental impact assessment. She is a strong education professional with a PhD focused in environmental engineering from Clarkson University. She is a program coordinator for Carbon Zero Challenge an eco-technology and entrepreneurship contest. Served in several central and state expert committees for advising government on key decisions in environment area. Indu heads the Women's Forum at IIT Madras, brings in a lot of programs for women, students, staff and faculty at IITM. Welcome, Professor Indumathi. And last but not least, our own IITMAA President, Krishnan Narayanan, who is the co-founder and president of Itihasa Research and Digital Studies, the evolution of technology domains in India. He is the president of IITM Alumni Association, where he has promoted a number of initiatives around women in STEM. Krishnan is the alumnus of the 96 mechanical batch. He brings in his high energy ideas. He's also a chief investor and brain behind IITMACR, a center for water management and policy. Welcome all, welcome panel. It's open.
Hello? Yeah. Okay, great. You know, we had grand aspirations to, you know, get together as a panel over the last 2 weeks, trash it out, all the points before we come to the panel discussion today. I am glad to say that we haven't done any of that. So. Well, we did make the attempt. So what you're going to see here is let's say a unfiltered discussion on this topic. You know, which is what makes this fun. What I'd like to do before we get started, I did want to you know, share a few data points to get the thing started. And if you look at this, the issue of you know, women in STEM, you know, if you look at the life cycle, and they seem to be coming at different stages, right? One as a girl child, and what do you need to do? Then there is this higher education, and what do you need to do there? And then there's a thing where after they graduate, when it comes to work, and what happens. And I think there are different sort of challenges at different stages, and so on, right? So we'll sort of take, at least for the initial discussion, we'll take these 3 areas and we'll go around the table and debate these 3 points, and then we will, you know, I want this to be a very participative crowd. Hopefully, you know, and I think the people who participate much more, some extra sweets kudupanga. So the first thing, here are a couple of data points that I want to throw at you. We did a survey. You know, Mahesh, you talked about we are doing a survey this year as well, and we asked people, what do you think is the best age to spark or ignite an interest in STEM in a girl? And what we found is 77% of the people who responded said it's better to do this between the ages of 13 and 17. So grade 8 to 12 is when you need to spark the interest. I mean, people who responded mostly are alumni. Okay, so you know, I mean, I really, what I'm saying is you guys don't need to agree with this, but you could agree, disagree, but the other thought that they said was the primary influencer who make them choice. The parent or the family is about 52%, followed by the teacher at 18%. Okay, so this is one data point. The second data point, if you go to so this was Avishkar survey 2021 among school children. About 5,000 parents and school students were involved. Just about 57% of the girl students are interested in pursuing a STEM career, whereas 85% of the boys are interested, right? When they ask the question, and 95% of all students pursuing STEM, including the girls, they recalled only male role models, right? And so let's leave this here. So what I want you to do is this is of course a multifaceted problem. So think about the sort of girl child and how we have to encourage. What are the challenges you see, and maybe reflect on some solutions. Ravi, we'll start with you first. I mean, I'm used to calling him Rash, so I was like struggling a little bit.
I won't tell your nickname. Mama. I thought, okay, I won't announce it, but since you asked. Okay, first of all, can you just sit and talk? Yeah. First of all, thank you to IITMAA and for inviting us for this wonderful event. And just before I start, I would also like to introduce my colleague Mangai. Can you just stand up? From Chudar, who has also come here. So she is actively actually doing whatever we are talking about in terms of taking STEM for bridging the gap with respect to STEM education for girls, right? So she heads our science initiative at Chudar, and of course, other big thanks to Malati also for for connecting us, and she's also volunteer with Chudar, and she's also familiar with our work, right? So, okay, I think to start off, what I would like to talk about is, I think Dr. Mahesh already mentioned, when it comes to graduates in India, right, who are pursuing STEM careers, I think among different countries, India ranks very high. It's in fact in one survey, it says number 1 in terms of the percentage of graduates in STEM careers. But the same survey goes on to say that the percentage of women who are pursuing careers in STEM, as in terms of employment, that number comes down drastically. So there are some points where we seem to be doing okay, but some points where there's a lot more need for improvement. But where I come from, it's a completely different perspective. When I say I, or we as in Chudar, we come from. So our work is predominantly with government school children, right, with the underprivileged sections. And if you look at the same kind of statistics you can see there. There is a perception among many people that many girls do not go to school, or are not enrolled in school, or do not finish high school, etc. That used to be the case 20-30 years back. But today, if you look at even completing middle school or high school in a state like Tamil Nadu, there is fairly good gender parity. Like if you go to a typical government school, if there are like 100 students, if it's a co-ed school, you will find 50 students who are girls. Or if it's not in that school, among all 100 students, 50 boys and 50 girls will be enrolled. Okay, when it comes to beyond 10th, yes, there is some dropout, this thing happens. But the real critical problem is not just in terms of enrollment. So in terms of quantity, both in terms of overall in graduate school, as well as in primary or middle school, I don't think there is anything lacking. Okay, just to sort of dispel that notion, many people may think that girls are not going to school. I think in some states that is still, the numbers are a little low, but in states like Tamil Nadu and in South Indian states, it's fairly good. But where is the real problem? Where do we actually need to address this gap? So it is I would say it is more in the qualitative perspective rather than in quantity, right? Of course, the quantity will get reflected later. For example, in societal norms, in attitudes, in ambition, in what students would like to do, in all these aspects, we see a huge gap, particularly when it comes to underprivileged. Just to give a small example, like Chudar runs after school centers in communities for all children, mainly government school children, but both boys and girls. And we do like regular, support for academic this thing, because we also need, of course, the main problem that we work on is to improve the quality, and there is a whole bunch we can keep talking about what kind of problems there are in learning, etc. But that's our regular sort of bread and butter day-to-day work. We also do some add-on courses, some enrichment courses, etc. in these communities. So we want to do something very, we try to do something exciting and fun. And many of these parents, that the craze these days is robotics, right? Like among students, middle school, high school children, you want to enroll in robotics. Now, we found I don't know if the resource person, he was also supposed to come here. We found a resource person who actually teaches very simple, robotics means not like some moving robot or something, some very simple principles, some automatic door opener, something like that with some sensors for poor children, okay, as a resource person. And we said, okay, we'll do a course in the community. And believe it or not, we work with girl children and boys, both. When we announce this course, this is an 8-week course. Once every week, they should just come. They don't have to pay or anything. All the students who signed up were boys. Okay, so so there is no barrier that we had. Our tutors are women, our coordinators are women. In fact, I'm proud to say that at Shudder, at all levels, we have more women than men, from the management group to the to the project managers and supervisors, and at tutors it's even majority, right? And so it is not because of a bias inside the organization, right? And these girls know that we work with both boys and girls, right? So it is the attitude. Parents feel that this means it is not for me, right? It's not. So this is what actually prompted us to do something in this area, right? It's not just that we don't have any data that shows that among the school children, girls are less or take less this thing, but it sort of seeps in. And there was and the women who were the recruiting children for the course were all women, the people, the tutors, right? So this is what sort of prompted us to say we have to do something special for STEM, for this thing, for girls specially, and that's what prompted us to launch this program to work with government schools.
Hold on to that thought.
Yeah.
The next question,
sorry.
But right now we are discussing the problems.
Yeah. No. So I just wanted to just say one last thing in terms of the problem, right? I think the problem is slightly different when it comes to the underprivileged sections. It's not just the gender problem. Also, there's a lot of cultural norms. There's a lot of caste-related, class, socio-economic. All those things put extra pressure on those girls compared to girls from relatively better off backgrounds. That's also something that I just want.
Great.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, IITMAA, for calling me to be part of this panel. Thank you. I again call you Shyamala because she was introduced. Malati, thank you, Malati, for putting the team together. Right. So basically, I do not belong to a typical STEM person. I belong to social sciences. So I did my economics and then I did my management here. So nothing to do with science, technology, engineering or mathematics. Of course, fairly decent in my mathematical skills. But the issue of women in STEM is not something which we can overcome overnight. It may be a couple of generations. I have to talk about PALs because I work with quite a few engineering colleges. When there are typical structures, just bring them back. Things are very smooth. In fact, it is a fabulous 1,000 rupees per girl student in government school. Two things. The girl child infanticide will just vanish perhaps. They will find some return on investment. Historically, why girls are not educated? It is basic economics. There is no return of investment on educating the child, girl, because she gets married and goes to some other house. So why is the father and mother going to educate? So when there is a dispute on property, typically the man will be the owner. So he will rather prefer the daughter-in-law to the daughter, because the daughter-in-law brings the money inside their family. So it is basically economics. Unless we have that economic independence, lot of things will not fall in its place. That is why I am extremely impressed by IITM. There is one more, it is IITM, you are independent is independent, and it is also Indi is Indian pen. Yes. Right. So, whether that is the right value system, that is something moralistic beyond the scope of today's study. But as Ravishankar was telling, as typical economists, I got some percentages also. The Indian female graduates, they form 43% in India, while it is 34 in US, 38 in UK, 27 in Germany and 32 in France. So far higher in number games. But what is on the ground is totally different. But what can happen on the ground is independent of all these things. It is something to do with cultural bias. In fact, there was an article by Preeti Agalyam had written for I think War of Study. She had given a list of items: stereotyped gender roles, conform to societal norms, stressors related to marriage, child and elder care. Quite a few of, I mean, I was just thinking whether I should talk of these things at all, because I have quite a few young girls that let them not get frightened and go run away. Well, of course, we can get out of it and we still can be happy. Enormous amount of responsibility related to running of household, physical safety during commuting, physical safety in the workplace, right? So there are quite a few challenges. We may have to put in lot more effort, and we cannot afford to be lazy. So if those characteristics we develop, it certainly happens. But in my pals colleges, there is not much of a difference between us, not at the school level, at the college level, we find quite a few girl students, substantial number of girl students. And it's because it has become a norm. There is an engineering college in every town, and so they go and join there. Whenever there is a paper presentation or some such activity along with an industry speaker, or we have an innovation competition, we find it will generally be a group of boys coming. So we said there will be marks for inclusive team. We do not want to make it look only for women. I mean, it is not as if you have to give some doles to bring them down. No, not like that. Not the same year. It should be across 2 or 3 years. It should be different genders. And it should be from different departments, make it interdisciplinary. And when we started giving some 5 points based on that criteria, I find quite a few in the 25-30 stalls we have for our innovation competition. Therefore, the positive of that is, if we think through it and come out with the way of inclusiveness, it does bear fruit on the ground. And we do not find any girl student any less equipped than the boys, equally good. And one more thing I find is, whenever the PALS college is headed by a woman chairperson, the impact is tremendous. The leadership is what we must bring to the table. With that, lot of things will change, which I do not see when the leadership is, I mean, it is not a question of finding fault with menfolk. You are unable to understand some of the issues that we go through, or some of the inhibitions we have, some of the difficulties we face, which cannot be explained. It won't be politically right to explain, but nevertheless we go through it. So that is understood, and that just percolates the entire DNA of the college, and I find those girls far more forthcoming than a male-headed colleges. This is my friend initiative.
No, and this is a great point, and it kind of reflects what Shyamala was speaking then, when she talked about Gagandeep Khan saying that we go through the same experiences, but the lived experience for the woman is different, and so the empathy and so on is totally different, right? So Indumathi, before I come to you, I want to throw one data point at you here. Can we go to the next thing? And I thought you may be best suited to answer this. Okay, so this is a All India survey on higher education. From that report, there are 3 data points that I want to share with you. The first one, it seems outside of that 6 states, UP, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, which account for 54% of the female enrollments, 46% of the enrollments coming from the remaining 31 states. So clearly there is a problem outside of these states. That's number 1. Number 2 is the share of the female students is the lowest in institutions of national importance and deemed universities. Okay, that's the the other thing that's coming from the survey. And the third one, female percentage in undergraduate programs. The lowest comes for engineering and technology, law and management. Okay, these three, I mean, I was surprised with, I thought engineering was not a surprise, but law and management is among the lowest. And the higher ones, that is 50 and above, commerce, science, arts and medical science. Medical science is the highest. Perhaps they've included even nurses and so on, nursing. So your reflection, especially this, lowest in institution of national importance, female undergrad students, the lowest being engineering and technology. What's the challenge? Any thoughts on that?
Thank you, Krishnan. Yeah. When we talk about enrollment of girl students in colleges, particularly you emphasized on institutes of national importance like IITs. The biggest roadblock is our own JEE. I've talked to several undergrad students. It's again, as ma'am said, economics, right? Not many of the families can afford coaching centers. And we all know that over the last decade or more, coaching centers are the only way of getting into IIT, right? So one thing is cost of coaching centers. The other thing is the proximity of the coaching centers, good coaching centers, particularly in the states where what you mentioned, these coaching centers are quite far away, and so parents hesitate to send the girl students. Safety, most of them are residential, and some of the girls I talked to, they said that they don't even have peers in the coaching centers. There are very limited number of girls who come to these coaching centers, and after every class there will be a bunch of boys chit-chatting, and then they're just all alone staring at them. So these are all, women always tend to want to have like a woman to pair with. It's a natural tendency. So they feel isolated, and all along in technical institutes, right from coaching center, when they come to the institute, again women are a minority. Like in IITs also, after Gonsalves committee's report, which came out a few years ago, there was a big push. The supernumerary was included, and we could go from 10% to 20%. Just last year we could reach 20% in IIT Madras. But still that's a small number, right? When right across the road in Anna University, I find the numbers much bigger, larger, 20-30% already in even the core engineering. So I would say those are the roadblocks for getting in, and then all along also women in technology always tend to be in small numbers. Even as faculty, we are only at 10-11% now, and that's a big gap. And we are all in isolation when there are only like 2 faculty in a department, and we are all too busy. It's all of us have to work in isolation. There is no like comradeship, socializing, with talking to another women faculty. All these are very rare because of the demands we pose. So I would stop at this. I would say that that's the biggest challenge.
Sure. And what we will do, we'll look at one more data point, and then we'll get to the solutions part, right? And I want you to reflect on this data point. I mean, it's not looking good here. Okay, forget watching that. I don't think we can read that. But what I want to say, so all of us, by the way, the first thing is all of us are reading off, drinking off the same trough. Even I had this 43%. Enoda data point la neenga idu edutundinga already. But fortunately I do have some more data points. So here was a thing that 68% of the women, there was a UNDP report which said 68% of the women who graduate don't have paid jobs. There was a 2018 report which said India ranks 5th lowest in having women in leadership roles, and only 20% of the leadership roles are held by women in India. in fact, my friend Leith Greenslade in the US, she runs one very, very interesting index called the Mom Plus Power Index. Okay, where it's not just women, but she looks at the moms in leadership roles. And she ran this across US, China, Russia and India. And she found that only 6% of the most powerful leaders, and she does this across 4 different categories, political, business, academia and so on. So she found only 6% of the most powerful leaders in these US, China, Russia, India are women with children. 94% are whatever, I mean, but so essentially there's a sort of penalty. So this is at work, right? We are now talking about at work level. And so I want you to just reflect, maybe each one of you maybe reflect a little bit about the work challenges a bit. Are they different from what happened? Because we're right now talking about education and school. Are the challenges different at work? Huh? Just reflect on that, and then we'll come to the solutions part next.
Just a minute. I just want to give the mom leaders. She has talked only about children, elder care. So that is a typical Indian requirement also. Not to tell others are not doing. That is eating away a lot of time, and it is not just the physical work. The mental share of mind to get things done there, it saps a lot of energy also. You can.
No, you can go.
Yeah, if 40 to 45% of expected time is to be spent on typical requirement as a woman in the society, so only the remaining 50 can be used. And even with my team, either in PALS or somewhere, if there is going to be a program post 6:30 in the evening, it is enormous arrangement at home before we leave the house. And it's not a complaint. We can't afford to be lazy. We can't afford to find time for our own. And at times you get into a mode, should I run this much? What is it in it? So that is why the socializing, networking, which is absolutely essential for leadership. There is no time. It is not for lack of capacity, it is lack of time. And secondly, sometimes there was a rule a few years before telling that when it is a single girl child, the child can be given free education in schools and the government will reimburse. It was a very genuine rule by the government, but the government should give the money. We can't force the government to give. So I have seen quite a few management just slipping below the table if there is a single girl child. So what was intended as a good benefit to the girl child eventually was not that good to that kid. Therefore, sometimes on the table we think something is very good, but under the table it may have a different effect. I used to feel when there is a lot of fight to have property rights for girls, it is a very good thing. So my parents will have the return on investment on my education. When I ask for a 6 months holiday during childbirth, should I also give 3 months of free time to my husband? They may feel that we are very considerate, but it is making them learn how to take care of the household. Therefore, maybe we may have to think slightly away from a typical, it is not just taking the coin into the direct point. We may have to hit here for the coin to go there. So that type of thought process may have to be inculcated for us to have a correct solution on the ground. But I am sure when quite a few of my parents were not even educated, in my age 30 to 40 educated, so I don't bring that much pressure on my son or daughter. So maybe the generation, whether we have that much time, in the long run we are all dead, is what Keynes was telling. That's a different story. If it will eventually happen, but for that we cannot go slow in whatever we are doing now.
You can go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so the data is quite alarming, particularly women in leadership positions having very few of them having children. Yes, I think that is the choice women are now making, because particularly in India, women have this dual responsibility of, or even I would say three responsibilities: childcare, home, and work. And obviously there is only 24 hours in a day, and so they have to choose. So they choose, if they want to be in leadership positions, they have to give 20 hours a day or something like that, and there's no time to raise a child, right? So I think Indra Nooyi, the famous Pepsi CEO, no, she said there was a very revealing book which came out 5-6 years ago. Can women have it all? I don't know how many of you have read that book. And so the same question was posed to Indra Nooyi, and can women have it all, you being the CEO? She said yes, but it has to be with compromises and sacrifices, right? You can still have it all. But the sacrifices now the women are making, because it's so competitive, is marriage. Many of them opt not to even marry, stay single, and now more and more women are opting to not have children, right? Those are big sacrifices which we are trying to make. But do we have to do it? Because gender parity at institutes we are talking about, but is gender parity happening at homes? Right? That is the biggest gap we need to address. No? I think the government, the institutes, they are all working towards achieving gender parity in institutes and workplaces. But at home, it is the society which has to play a role. No? We have raised smart women, girl children to take over, come out of the homes and take leadership positions, careers in science. But have we raised our sons right? That's the big question. So if that happens, then we will have gender parity at homes, and women don't have to have this kind of a stress trying to balance everything. It will be equal, and this is happening in the Western world, but still not 50% contribution. But India has a very big leap towards that. Otherwise, the women have to still make sacrifices and compromises, and it impacts their health, right? So I'll stop it.
So just one small point I wanted to add. Yeah, I think of course regarding the employment scenario, a lot has to be done sort of in many different other sectors. I just wanted to add one point, that there is a link when it comes to education, right? Apart from the academics, how things are portrayed in textbooks. In fact, in our team, one of the things that we constantly have to think about is when we give examples, problems, worksheets, etc., not fall to the usual gender bias. I mean, the standard trope of textbooks having, like, an image where a man is just sitting and just reading some newspaper, and this is a standard image, right? And woman is doing something. So when we create videos, so for our children, we have to consciously come up with examples where the women are, in good, positions, doing things which are not stereotypical, etc. Which also, and there is evidence to show that when boys and girls see images and see this, then it sort of goes into that this is actually normal and this is how things should be. Just wanted to add.
Right. No, I think the mic has had enough of me, I think. Oh, it's working now. That's what. Clearly, this theory is holding good. Okay. No, I think these are excellent points that are there. So, but I also want to, keeping the number of young women who are here, I do want to focus on the happier aspects. I think there's a point where I think these are challenges, but I think a lot of good work has happened, which is sort of making some positive improvements. In fact, even in the video, what we saw here were sort of difficult questions, but if you look at the full video, you will find all the women that we spoke to talk about positive things that are happening in the environments and in their own thinking and others' thinking and so on, right? So I do want to reflect on that. So which is why we'll go around a few solutions and reflect back on. No, we'll come back to this last, but just reflect back on one or two interesting initiatives, like for example your program or your PALS program or maybe your WLI. I mean, whatever. Just reflect back on something. A successful program that you're doing, which is trying to make a difference, and just talk a little bit about that program and how it's making a difference, right? We'll go around. Ravi, why don't you start off?
Okay. So I think that now that we've talked about the problems, that why we all know that many women do not take up STEM careers, or if they do pursue the education, they don't actually end up necessarily in jobs related to that. Now, a lot of this has to do with attitude towards science, technology, the STEM fields, science, mathematics, etc. And this attitude, as your survey rightly showed, which we have also seen, is that this is something that starts from a very young age. It's not necessarily from undergraduate, right? The spark for doing something in this thing starts at probably middle school. Primary probably is a bit too young, right, when they are 11 or 12 years old. I think that's what your survey also showed. And what we feel is that the way to get that is not by just going and talking and saying that, okay, girls, you should take up STEM careers, etc. As an organization, Chudar believes in learning by doing, right? Which is, instead of telling girls or the school teachers, etc., that, or parents, that girls can also do well. Of course, that's also necessary. What we do is one step further, right? We, and in fact, Mangai and others in the team, what they do is they train these, and that's the program that we were talking about, train young girls on actually doing very simple science activities, but very interesting. So we have videos of girls doing some fantastic experiments, activities, explaining math concepts, right? Like, and this is from a population pool where the general quality of education is very low, because that's the problem that we are starting, that's the base that we are starting with. So in that kind of scenario, when we have girls come and demonstrate models, show some mathematical problems, examples, experiments, projects, etc., it works much better than trying to convince, saying that, then you don't need to say anything. So what we do is we organize these sort of mela, we call it a science fest or a science mela, where the parents will come and see. There's nothing talked about STEM for girls. The girls will be doing the girls will be managing the stalls and just doing the activities, and it will be something impressive. Like the experiment or something will be like, wow, I didn't expect it, right? Now, that I think will completely break your stereotype, because you have a notion. When I say you, could be the parent, it could be the mother also, it could be the father, it could be the mother, it could be the teacher, it could be somebody from the community, feels that girls na, okay, I mean in Tamil, like but so you have that image. Whatever you say, it's not going to break that. But when you see something that's directly contradicting what, and you can't still hold that thing, and when you see that consistently, so you have to persist with it. You have to have role models, you have to have images, you have to have events also, you have to do the talking also, because after that, still parents may say this is a one-off thing. So you have to explain that these are girls who have learnt it, and they are, they can do this as a career, and it's something that's exciting, right? I think what is important is to take it in a positive way rather than complain about it. Communicate the excitement and fun in doing STEM related subjects. I think that will sort of change the attitudes at younger ages, and hopefully that will lead to more people taking up this kind of a career or pursuing with this at later stage also. That's what I think that Chudar is trying to do, and we're hoping that we can get more girls excited about science and math. Right?
And if I might add just one thing now, these programs that we talked about here, one of the things that we do, encourage and we are actively pursuing is the participation of our alumni and students in these activities. So when we talk about IndiePen program or the Chudar program, it's not like IndiePen will go and do the program and that's it's not, hey, what has it got to do with me? No. I think in all these programs, so for example, this Chudar program, we are going to actively seek the participation of alumni and students. So for example, when we do these melas and workshops, I think maybe there's an opportunity for all of you. So please do sign up. It gives a completely different perspective for you, right? I mean, and I think it'll just help us understand that perspective. So please do sign up. Nishani will help you with all the signing up process. Yeah,
just to add to what Ravishankar was telling, in past we used to have a program called RSW, Residential Student. Are you able to hear?
No, people here can hear, but maybe not on the...
It's called Residential Student Workshop, wherein a handful of 4 or 5 students from each one of their partner institute, based on a typical shortlisting, will be coming, spending 2 days within the institute. And it will be some engineering, some experiments, and a lot of other stuff like nature walk, see the fauna and all these things in the institute, gender equality, an IITM doing a music program. So there will be varied activities. And in one of the typical this thing, it was I'm not very sure whether that girl was from Tiruchengodu or Trichy, a rural girl. And we found that she came in a cab and we found her getting down, her mother, father, brother, uncle. Oh, for a 2 days workshop, this much, how much they should have spent for all those things is what went through. And we thought, is she coming for RSW or some marriage here? Then some of our volunteers went and told, hey, this is mainly, apart from engineering, the child should learn independence. So that is what we are looking for, apart from the experiment and engineering. And there are other students from Virudhunagar, Madurai, Salem, and they were all talking to each other. And then the parents, we can give only stay facility only for the student, not for the parents. So they were sent off. The 2 days the girls spent here, and then we just left it at that. And one of the volunteers who takes care of PALS, she came after 3 months. There was an industry speak and some internship, this thing. And I think it was when we were working in the Alumni Center in Arepuram. And she said, Alamelu, do you know something? I got a phone call by 4:30 a.m. And then she said, Madam, I have come by bus. I'm just having a coffee or tea in the tea stall. Will the club be open now so that I can go and stay there? Then we said, whether we achieved the engineering or not, we achieved the independence that we wanted the girl child to have. So in that way, seeing is believing. And seeing a typical student of her own age performing brings a lot of difference.
So we at Women's Forum, we are trying to address the gap of not having enough role models. We started this, and mentors also. I think this started during COVID. Particularly again an alumni-led initiative. Dr. Meera Sitaram from University of Florida, she initiated this to honor the memory of her friend Malati Veeraraghavan. So this is basically a mentorship program for PhD students who are actually really in a caught in between stage, because their biological clock is ticking. And it is in direct confrontation with their career clock. Okay, that is the age when they are like 25 to 30. They have to get married, they have to have a child, but then the research is calling them, and research is completely different. It's much more demanding than a 9 to 5 job, right? So many women face through the research scholars. Out of my 15 research scholars who graduated, 13 of them are women. And I know every story of every women research scholar, and I'm sure everybody can vouch for that, guides who are here. So they need a lot of support at that point of time. Role models, mentors. So a group of alumni and a group of faculty have come together, and we asked the PhD research scholars to sign up for this mentorship program. And we're very happy to say that about 45 research scholars are currently being mentored by alumni and faculty. It's been going on for 2 years, and I'm getting a lot of positive response from these research scholars. So they are able to sail through this whole COVID tragedy, along with taking their research through this COVID period, along with their family issues. And there is another initiative which WLI, Women Leading IITM, again came from the alumni, and they are supporting financially these research scholars, women research scholars who are struggling without assistantship. Similar to it's called a Steward Mentorship Program, STEM Women in Research and Development. So similar to that, we are now initiating a mentorship program for the undergraduate girls. Again, like I said, in tech, particularly in IIT, they are a minority, and there's not much of socializing even among the girls. So this is something to connect the BTech girls with the women alumni. And I'm very happy to say that the moment we started the discussion started about 6 months back. Almost 50 alumni signed up to be mentors. So it was very, very heartening. And we are just waiting. Now the students are back in campus. We are going to pair the mentors with, this is a one-on-one mentorship program. So the the girls can connect and open up to their mentor, and they will be guiding them all through. It can be personal questions, it can be research related questions or career related questions. So that's, we will be taking off this BTech mentorship program shortly. Thank you.
Well, it's very heartening to hear these wonderful stories. Nishani, you're telling me something. Can I get questions from the audience? Okay. I simply do what Nishani tells me to do. Okay, so we'll have some questions. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
I'll come in front.
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Good evening all. So first thing, I'm so happy to come in front of this alumni. I'm unlike a BTech or a PhD student here. So I finished my PhD from CCMB and University of Hyderabad in 2009. But whatever restoring STEM and balance in STEM was initiated maybe after 2008 or 7 by the government schemes and all. So we all had CSIR, JRF to come up to that. That time there was no maternity leave. So all of us had to lay back our family and everything and then pursue PhD, and then we come back to give back, to come back to family and then resume back. So I entered 2011 in IIT as an institute PDF, and then 3 independent schemes as women scientist schemes by DST. Okay, so IIT was so generous with me. All the deans and all the faculty with whomever I worked, they've been so supportive. You know, all are men. So every balance or all my career has to be a great round of applause to all the men in IITM or in elsewhere. You know, a loving father, of course, and a husband also. So, so whoever has been very support. So, ma'am, first thing, a big thanks to Tech Kids. So can you believe it? I have left job offers because there was no daycare in any premises or in their thing. So 2016 on, I didn't take up anything even though. So now I am placed with Adyar Cancer Institute as a faculty. So because my career in IIT has been going on with a different in a science stream well. So the Cancer Institute has given me a faculty position, of course. So all big thanks. I don't think no alumni can, and you know, and I was so reluctant to go to the next gate. I was so reluctant because there was no Tech Kids there. But still I'm enjoying this. But anyways, all alumni initiatives, I'm always part of them. So the pulse which is going on in the morning, so with the Click mentorship program, everything. So, and I'm hoping to give back to the community. So this place has given me so much, and still I have some very excellent collaborative projects going on here. So I still look forward to giving back to the institute and whatever possible way, whatever way you think you please keep me on board.
Thank you. I didn't catch your name.
I'm Sridevi Dugirala.
Sridevi. Thank you, Sridevi, for sharing the story and for this wonderful
Yes,
message that
thank
you have. Thank you. Mahesh?
So I have a question, probably for Ravi. Almost about 7 times as many students study in vernacular media in India compared to English medium. Does that have an effect on what happens downstream? Because our downstream education, the tertiary education, has an English bias. And if you go into research, then even more of an English bias. Is that something that we need to remedy early on?
Yes, I think it's a very good point. What we actually find is that if you go to the tier 2, tier 3 kind of places, you know that there is a big push towards English medium instruction. So today even government schools are converting to English medium instruction because of demand from the parents. But of course that number has not shifted completely. There is still a majority in the Tamil medium or vernacular medium. I find that so it's a slightly nuanced kind of this thing. So the fact that they are learning in vernacular is a disadvantage when it comes to higher education. That's what parents are seeing. But what we do see is that the people who are learning in Tamil medium, for example, are at least able to understand, if they, at least understand what is being spoken, what is being taught in science or mathematics or social studies. Whereas the students from the poorer sections who are learning in the English medium, they neither learn English well nor the subject well. So it's a complex problem. Like the English medium is of course useful when it comes to college. And we do know that the students who learn all through in English medium have it much easier when they come to college, and the Tamil medium students find it very difficult. But in school today we find that the English medium students from poorer sections actually find it even more difficult, probably in some sense. Not the private school. See, the private school percentage is still, the elite private schools is still a very small. If you go to budget private schools or government aided schools, etc., the quality of English medium instruction is not so great. So there in school itself they have problems. Oh, the fact whether it's Tamil medium or English medium, the poor quality of education that they receive is severely affecting their employability later. So Chudar exists because we have children who go to school but end up learning close to nothing. So we have surveys, we have data, we have done our own internal surveys, lots of stuff that shows that they are not confident, they won't be able to do even some simple academic related thing. And that problem gets compounded when it is English medium and they can't understand the language. So one of the big demands in our centers is for spoken English. So we may say that we want to do STEM, that we will say, okay, we want your children to learn science well, maths well, etc. The parents will come and ask, can you help my child speak in English? That's what they see as the passport for anything in future. Arts. English.
Hello. It was really interesting listening to this discussion, and I'm a final year undergraduate from IIT Madras, and what I've felt through my experience being a woman in STEM is that I've been a product of a very supportive environment. My family has been very supportive towards going into STEM. My school has been supportive. But something that I felt, and I've noticed that my peers have felt, is the pressure to do more to belong in the same environment, which is that, if there's an average amount of effort expected for my male peers or other peers in a class, I always feel that, I have to do more to belong. And this kind of pressure can be quite difficult, and I was wondering if you could talk more about how you can alleviate this pressure or how to deal with this kind of emotional extra effort that's required if you're a woman in STEAM.
So
What's your good name? Sankalpa. Hi. Yes. Yeah.
Sankalpa happens to be my student from AHA Guru when we did the coaching. So I was really thrilled to meet her here. Okay, sorry.
So Sankalpa, I would say welcome to the women's world. This is just the beginning, right? What you're feeling in your class. So you will see it all along when you go for a career. You always have to give 200% to make yourself accepted as 100% worth. I think it's a general, I would say, bias, unconscious bias they say, right? Implicit bias in the society. Okay, they always look at with a lens. No, women are always looked at with a lens, and so you have to come and go beyond that lens and then perform. Okay, so you just have to be grounded. You should be grounded in who you are. You don't have to be stressed about this whole expectations of the society. Be who you are, give your 100%, okay, and you will see the outcomes. Okay, I think it's more, I would say that this should not be a stress factor in your career, but you will see it all along. It's not just an Indian thing, it is a universal thing, which we have seen it all women here. I think I see a lot of nods. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. If I can add one comment on this, I think there are maybe 2-3 schools of thought in terms of how the solutions for this needs to be addressed. And one is this sort of Sheryl Sandberg school of thought, right? Like where it's on the woman. You have to be more visible, and you have to be seen to do things and so on, right? And so there's one element of that where where I see, hey, you have to take 200% to be seen and stuff, right? That's one school of thought, and maybe there's this Mary Ann Slaughter school of thought, where I think the emphasis is on the policies and the work environment that needs to adapt to this. So they have to recognize this, and they have to make changes. And so my own sense, of course, I'm not trying to. I'm only merely reflecting. It's not like I have a personal experience, of this, but I think both are required. For the solution to finally emerge. So it's not just on you. I think the environment also has to react. The policies have to change and so on for the betterment. Okay. There's a question here.
Okay. But at the end of the day, I would also like to tell, we cannot expect everything to be handed over to us. We must be able to fight and establish. And you fight, you certainly establish.
Okay, I'm Saurav from Applied Mechanics long back, 2009 batch. See, I'll take a cue from what Sankalpa said, right? You are right, Ma. I have seen this. As a man, it's really a heartening, right? I don't know why. It is unconscious mind training, right? It is much more professional abroad. In India, it is much more. When I was in Malaysia and Singapore, I have seen my wife, there was no at all this gender gap. They give everybody the same importance. India, it's totally a different scenario. Even what you said, ma'am, particularly Vidya madam, Sri Vidya, right? She said, no, right? You said, right, take kids, support for the students, particularly for the kids, for the women. It's much essential. When my wife was expecting, she was in her master's program, right? When she delivered, and we used to bring the kid, the university gave us an option. We have actually just near to the university, we have the support system. We can place them in the daycare, and in India, daycare finishes at 3:30. Abroad, is not like that. You can keep it in 6:30. So we don't, women particularly there, they don't have that fear that we have to again go back and attend to that, right? Women requires support. It's a problem with the society. We the men are responsible for this parity. I'll be very, I'm not a feminist. Don't judge me as a feminist. Men are responsible for this thing. And it is a training the society has put on us that men will be the one who will be the one, the Jamindar type will sit there and do. It's not like that. Society requires parity. But where are we? 1919 in US, women get the permission to vote, right? It has taken a long battle for them. Think in this way. Even in US, I was just reading, ma'am, you said about Indanoi. I was just few days back, I was reading on. Yeah, yes, please support. For the one to be sum up, please support the woman. They are multitasking. They are much better at multitasking. Give them the support. Society will not support, but let us all support together. I am damn sure India will prosper. Thank you very much.
Hey, this is.
One question and one. Yeah, the last two.
Yeah.
We do have the director. He has joined us, so we will finish with these two questions, and then I think we will sign off with the director.
Yeah. This is Bhuvana. I've been part of this No STEM program starting, and happy to be here. Thanks, Malati. Yeah. So, two things I wanted to bring to Sankalp's queue. I am working for Pfizer as a R&D head, and I am proud to say that it's not easy, right? But I think we are in the right direction, right? To whatever the comments that we heard. In the earlier days, the History Month of Women will have only women celebrating women. Now I am happy to see that there are so many men in the room first, and there is a equal parity on the dais. This is the first step that has happened, and we are also bringing men as allies as a program in many industries, because we say that the more and more, to his point of Singapore, US, everywhere this exists to a certain extent, but as far as we can bring men into the room and talk about it, it is going to change. So another 20 years possibly we are paving the way now, but Men as Allies is the biggest program, and more and more men start to participate in a program like this. I think we are there, and I am happy to be here. Yeah.
So I want to do peer learning so that I can improve on my science skills, since I want to become a scientist. So like you said, women are in isolation sometimes because the males talk among each other when you are doing peer learning. I saw this in my class. All the people were discussing math together, and it's not approachable. They aren't approachable too, and there's also a gender divide in the class. So how do you address the issue? I want to go to the highest potential that I can do, and if I want to do my best, I also have to do peer learning. So what is the solution to address this issue?
You're addressing it to me? Okay. That's a very good question. I think if you don't have enough women, you will always face this issue, right? So you can reach out, if you are in a group where there is all men, you should reach out and try to connect with them. Most of them, it's not that they are ignoring you, right? So it's like birds of the same feather flock together. They are more comfortable with the boys than talking to you. So, but if you see that if you reach out, they will and become an equal partner in the discussion. So you have to enrich, like Sankalpa said, you have to be like 200%, right? So you go and contribute your knowledge in the discussion, then they will wow, yeah, she is good. She is going to contribute to this discussion. So let's have her. The attitude changes, right? So we have to be the change maker. If we have to create the situation, if you are in a place like that, if you are a loner, okay, and then they will definitely take you in, okay. Otherwise, beyond that group, if you need to talk to peers in the same, nowadays there are a lot of groups, social groups. You can connect to people, okay, of like-minded people and interact with them, right? There may be girls in different schools or colleges. You can connect to a mentor, look at your own, among your relations, is there somebody who is excelling in the area where you want to grow, right? So connect with them. And definitely if you reach out, people are out there. This whole program is for the betterment of women, right from girls, students in school, right? So people will definitely connect with you if you reach out, okay? So you should never feel that you are alone.
And there's another thing. So
can I request one thing? Yeah. Reserve one question for dinner. Thank you. I love the enthusiasm. Sorry to cut you in, but reserve one for the dinner.
Oh, Okay.
And over that you can have a nice conversation. You know, I'm in the interest of time. I do want to close it now. I thank the panelists for a wonderful discussion, for the audience for wonderful questions and a very participative audience that we had. So sweets for all. but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now may I request the director of IIT Madras to come on stage. Of course, we are very thankful that he took time from his very busy schedule to be part of this event. Sir.
Very good evening. I had a marathon meeting today, so I could not come as per the schedule, so apologize. And thanks Krishnan for accommodating me at this point. Well, when I requested the organizers, what is it that you want me to cover here? So they said, why don't you talk about some achievements that come into your mind, what women have achieved in this year. So some of the things just come into my mind. Today we had this aqua map, right? And it was headed by Liji Philip, Indumathi, all of them were there, and that particular proposal, Krishnan may certify that, would not have been possible without the great mentorship of both Liji and Indu. So that is one big achievement. I just want to start here with this. And it's such an important achievement that it touches the rural India, especially on the water policies. And no one to look at it. That's the feel we had, and I think this is going to be in a very right direction. We have very good success. For example, something that come in mind. If I'm missing something, please forgive me. That just when I was just coming from my office, I was just thinking about this. We had a first, I think it's the first Swarna Jayanti fellowship. Woman getting that, Shweta Agarwal of Computer Science Department. Swarna Jayanti Fellowship is something given by the age of 40, I think, and that is to do, that's a recognition to do a very phenomenal research in their field. She works in the area of cryptography and blockchain. That was something. And another very interesting contribution that has come, just that came in mind, is for the for the physically challenged people, Sujata has come out with NeoMotion, and see what you see in that, the whole, and other implants. Yesterday she did a technology transfer of some implants in Bangalore. What you see there is a motherly touch in whatever she's done, and that is something really phenomenal. Other very interesting contribution today is on the National Language Translation Mission, which is trying to integrate 21 languages. So you start conversing in some language, say Prime Minister's Man Ki Baat speech, right? And immediately it needs to get translated into other languages. Can it be automated? And for all the electronic services in the country, when we say Digital India, we cannot reach the complete 140 crore people unless we touch in their mother tongue. So the National Language Translation Mission is coming up in a very big way, and our Professor Hema Murthy is leading it. So that's something I'm very, very happy when I attended, probably the first meeting with Meiti. The minister himself and the secretary Meiti mentioned that she is a big force behind this. So just these are the things that came in mind. There are many, many more things. And of course, women leading IIT. We have our registrar, Dr. Jain, who's doing a phenomenal work. I must say, as a director, at least 80% of my attention she bears, right? So that is something. So that's one little example of a leadership quality. So yes, we need to do lot more for women, and as a director, I'm committed to do as much as possible in this institute. So some of the things. In the online BSc program, any girl student with a family income of less than 5 lakh need not pay the fees, right? And and for that Mahesh has been doing quite a significant amount of work. campaigning and getting a lot of CSR grant. And when we start with these very, noble thoughts, it's like going to the sun, no, the shadow will follow. Like we have that noble thought, money is pouring. I think Mahesh has to find more female candidates to take the fellowship. That much amount of fellowship is coming, and we are committed to that. Other thing that I am also planning, I also discussed with Mahesh, we want to set up sort of a structure wherein we go to other IITs, IIC, good senior most PhD scholar, women scholars, and convince them to come to IIT Madras and take up this position. I think this outreach is very, very important, and we will try to do that in the coming year. And we'll take all faculty from there, have an outreach program and say this is what IIT could offer, this is all the facilities that we offer, and this is the ease of living that you could have, and try to convince women faculty to come and join. I think this outreach is what is going to get it. Many things I have in mind, and we'll all work together, and I want to assure all of you that this campus will become very inclusive with least or nil gender bias, and we will see that women get the due credit for all the great work and services that you are doing. With this, thank you very much for this opportunity.
I would like to just thank Professor Kamakoti for taking time in his busy schedule to come aptly at the right moment and create a very impactful conclusion for our event. I request Nishani to just hand over a small token of our appreciation. Thank you so much.
So if you don't mind, we would like you to give away some prizes for our quiz competition winners. Thank you so much. Vishal Ramesh won the 3rd place in the 7th and 8th standard quiz competition. Vishal, can we have you on stage, please? Give it to him. Congratulations, Vishal. Thank you. Mridula Anand, she's won the 1st place in the 7th and 8th standard competition. Congratulations, Mridula. Thank you so much, sir. That was very kind of you. Thank you so much. We're coming to the end of our program. I would call Sir Ramachandran, Treasurer of IITMAA, to give us a vote of thanks.
Good evening to all. Well, it was a wonderful evening, and a lot of good points and good thoughts, and many thoughts to work forward as well. As we come to the end of this Sangam program, I would like to express thanks. At the outset, I wish to thank all the sponsors, IIT Madras Corporate Relations, HeroWired and Active. I would like to thank Professor Mahesh for his continued support as ever. We also would like to thank almost 100 alumni volunteers and their friends and over 5,000 viewers who have supported this program. They have made this Sangam a great success. Also would like to thank the speakers, the panelists and the moderators, despite their schedules, had agreed and come over and discussed on various diverse topics, and it was quite interesting. I would also like to thank young alumni volunteers who added to this particular function. And I would like to thank all for this evening, and I think we should get on to the next important one, the dinner. Let's get on. Thank you.
I remember once the faculty member, it was a meeting where, so we have these doctoral committee meetings, so the PhD student presents their work and we look at it. So all the doctoral committee members happen to be women, the guide happened to be a woman, the chair of the committee happened to be, the student was a woman, and just one of the members was male. And he walked in and he immediately said, "Oh, I feel like home with my wife and my daughters." And then it occurred to me, I said, my goodness, if I said that every time I stepped into a room and said, "Oh, it feels like I'm with my father," and well, I couldn't say it, I don't have brothers, but you know, imagine how it would feel silly, right?
I did my undergrad, a 5-year program from IIT Bombay, 93 to 98. I was in electrical engineering department, and I was